we couldn't not have a guest in our party like Millie and not talk about Final Fantasy and how it can go transmedia and kind of escape the world of video games and explore other mediums in order to better the brand and to get its name out there, right? And I understand on the surface when you're like, okay, like really, like Final Fantasy needs to really work on getting its name out there. Like I would argue that Final Fantasy, if it doesn't evolve in the next 10 or 15 years, is going to find itself in the same space that Star Trek finds itself now. And hear me out,
Ooh.
entertain this here, right? So
Hmm.
Star Trek, a beloved franchise 30 or 40 years ago, is now only fueled by a fan base that is literally dying off because it has not converted new fans into the space. I think you're going to run into that same issue of your Final Fantasy. When you get to Final Fantasy
Hmm.
20, 21, 22, it's still going to be my 40-year-old ass playing those video games, and you've got to get more people involved and invested in your franchise, right? Millie, I think I told you this. What one of my um I guess proud dad moments is that my son can recognize winged angel by like the first note or two of that song. So clearly I'm raising my child the way he should be raised.
Clearly.
But
Right.
but like we've got to expand. You've got to be able to bring in a new audience. And in a world where everyone thinks that, oh, if I play Final Fantasy 16, I've got to play the other 15 before it, we've got to figure out a way to get people invested into it. So I want to do a little experiment here. I want to kind of talk about ways that we can other avenues, other mediums that we can explore Final Fantasy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one rule in place. Final Fantasy VII is completely locked out of this conversation, right?
Yes.
Millie has the lock on Final Fantasy fan films. We're not touching that shit because we can't do it better than she can. So we're going to leave Final Fantasy VII alone. But we're going to talk about 4 different mediums, and we're all going to pitch an idea of what Square Enix will do and what they should do in order to explore avenues in these different mediums. So we're going to look at movies, TV series, scripted podcasts like audio dramas and things like that, and any kind of like park or themes or immersive pop up experiences, right?
Ooh.
We've already seen some of these come out. So, movies, we had Spirits Within, but you also had Advent Children, which better received than Spirits Within, but still some mixed audience reviews there. We've never really had anything in the world of television series. I mean, some anime stuff that's come out and things like that, but I'm talking about like true live action television series, audio dramas. I'm a sucker for a good audio drama. Like I will sit there and I drive so much for work. I'll listen to a 10-hour audio drama any day of the week. But then also Final Fantasy VII had these like little immersive pop up experiences. I think there was some out in LA where like Seventh Heaven had a pop up experience out there. I almost drove out there for that because that would have been so cool to be able to go to. Did you go to that,
I
Millie?
lived there.
Oh, it's
I
so
yeah,
good.
I met some really cool people there. Some fans that were willing to do some like content for the TikTok, which has been like amazing marketing for the fan film. Obviously found you lovely folks on there. And but yeah, honestly, it was such a great experience. I loved it and everybody was so kind. There was such a big Final Face. I met John Eric Bentley there. I mean, come on. He was the nicest person. He actually thought that the fan film was like so cool. He was like, "This is the coolest thing I've seen all day." So, that was like a dream come true moment. Absolutely wonderful. And there were several
I
times that
love
he
that.
just like he did like the da 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 da, like closing it really loud, and everybody just got silent and then like screamed. So, anyway, yeah, that was a heck of an experience. I really enjoyed that, and like they were really nice. They even offered to like let me film there for Seventh Heaven scenes if I so needed or
Nice.
wanted to. It's like stick around.
That's so cool. Dad, man, do you see these pop ups for Seventh Heaven?
I did not.
You've got to go.
I'm
You
kind
can
of.
you can pull it up on TikTok. Pretty simple. I mean, if you just go to Millie's page, you'll be able to see where she was. Because you were interviewing people there, right? Like you were in
Yeah,
there
yeah, I've got a
for.
couple videos
Um,
there. Videos like
it was
showcasing. Oh, God, so
It
cool.
was just it was so cool, man. It really was like, and I love those kind of experiences. I think that they are very unique and special. So, um, let's dive into this a little bit. Let's talk about the silver screen. Let's talk about movies. So, I'll start us off. I'm going to give you guys what I believe that Square Enix will do
Mm,
and what I think they should do in the world
Mm.
of movies. Okay, so um, and here's why we separated this from will and should is because sometimes my personal opinion, not going to speak for the group here, but I think sometimes Square Enix has a big disconnect with their fans, which is crazy to think. With the franchise has been going on for 40 years, but I think sometimes especially as of late, post Final Fantasy X, they kind of they have dollar signs in front of them more often than not, and I get it. I mean, that's what they're there for. Like they hear
Mm.
me out when I say this. Their only purpose as a company is to make money. Yeah, they want to make great video games while they do it, but they want to make money, right? Like so that's what they're there
Mhm.
for. But I think you can have both, right? But if you're talking about movies, um, I think that Square Enix, if made a live action Final Fantasy movie that isn't Final Fantasy VII, I think they will do Final Fantasy 16. I think
Mhm.
it's too easy for them. It's low hanging fruit with Game of Thrones vibes, with some of the things that you've gotten on television like Witcher and things like that. Like I think that there's a lot of um, excuse me while my dog's barking there in the background. I think that there's a lot of low hanging fruit for them to really be able to go after, and I think that it probably is the safest bet for them. If I'm being honest, if they were going to invest in a live action movie, however, I don't think that's what they should do. If I had to pick a property for Final Fantasy to make a movie for, it would hands down be Final Fantasy X. And not just because I love the movie, but because Final Fantasy, when I think it's hitting on all tropes and hitting every mark, is when it's pointing a mirror back to society. And I think that if you're taking away Final Fantasy VII out of the mix and you put in Final Fantasy X, the religious aspects of Final Fantasy X will point a mirror back at the world and give us conversational pieces to really be invested in. And I also think that the storyline is, I think the storyline is the most simplistic of any Final Fantasy game while still being the best of any Final Fantasy game. Like at its core, it's a very simple story told through Yuna, seen through Tidus's eyes. And I think that it it translates well to writing this into a screenplay, translated it into a movie. So that's the route I would go. I'd go Final Fantasy X. I think they would go Final Fantasy 16. Millie, I'm gonna kick it over to you next. What do you think in the world of movies? Where would they go and what should they do?
well, I guess I got a question first. If for Final Fantasy X live action, would there be Blitzball?
Oh, they would have to be
I mean, I feel like
like.
there would have to be,
I mean, it would
but I
be
feel like that would
CGI. I can't
be
imagine insurance will cover will cover someone
I feel like it'd be
underwater.
the most unnecessary scene of the film, but it's so necessary for the fans. It's the one of the joys of making a fan film. Actually, so I honestly I like. It's funny you said 10 because when you said a live action, I was like 10 would be such a good live action. That would be so beautiful. I would love to see that. But I've really been really interested in like some of the literary media that Square Enix has been releasing, and like there's a lot of Final Fantasy like 7 books that I've been reading and collecting like as part of like part of just the joy of I love everything about Final Fantasy
Hmm.
7, but also like store like a little bit of research and just like expanding my own knowledge of this universe. And honestly, the books have been doing so well. I could see them releasing more of those, especially as the remakes are continuing. Like there's only 3 right now, so I could see that happening. And also like leaning into like the graphic novel or the manga sort of deal, because like manga they already did the anime, but like tracking it to like specifically like graphic novel stories and stuff like that, I could see that. I also if they were to make a movie, I could see them doing a live action, but it would be something it would be like Spirits Within, and like the way of it's not related to any individual Final Fantasy movie, but its own
Yeah.
Mhm.
story that like also just kind of falls in those ranks, hopefully beautifully and well written. I would
Mhm.
love to see that, honestly. I would love to see them continue to build onto the world and do a live action and like invent new stories and new characters that make us fall in love. I also, honestly, I'm the only person I know that actually liked Spirits Within, but I was really young, you guys.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
like, this was great.
I wanted to like it. I really did. I remember sitting there in the theater with my brother who kind of introduced me to Final Fantasy, and we both walked out of there being like, well, there was that was a movie. And so, Dad man, what about you? What do you got on this list?
Oh. So it's funny, like we've talked about Spirits Within twice already, and it's like I know I watched it. Like I know that I actually went to the theater and I watched it, but I can't remember anything of it. And I don't know if it's because it was bad or if it's because my mind has just blocked that experience off because it wasn't for like it wasn't to me, it wasn't really like it just had the Final Fantasy name on it. But anyway, we could talk about that another time. To answer your question about movies, what I think they will do is I don't think they will do a movie, and I think it's because of the lack of success they had with Spirits Within. Right, like at the time they made Spirits Within, like Final Fantasy was a lot bigger. It was a lot more recognizable, and they kind of fumbled the bag with it. And I think they have scarring from that because they haven't like done anything. I don't think Advent Children got a theatrical release.
I think
I
I
might
got a
be mistaken.
limited theatrical release.
Maybe a limited
Yeah.
one, but it wasn't like a major motion picture studio that distributed it. So I don't think they will do anything. I just think that they might just be like, you know what, like that's not our realm. What I think they should do is kind of along the lines of what Millie was saying. I think they should do a movie, the Final Fantasy movie, but I think it should be its own independent story and like really flex like the writing muscle um and write like a good story because I think it's very hard to not translate, but it's hard to retell a story that you've already seen play out so many times. And as much as I would love a Final Fantasy X movie, like I know that story like the back of my mind, right? Like it's such a familiar story to me. It would be nice to see it translated to the big screen, and I think that movie or that game would translate probably the easiest to the big screen. Um, but I want something new. I want something new to grasp to, and I want something new that's going to attract a newer generation of fans. And I think that would be the way to do it.
Yeah, but I think when you think about movies though, right? Like that's this is us nerds talking about what we'd like to see and wouldn't like to see. The vast majority of moviegoers have no idea what Final Fantasy X is, right? And how it would play out and things like that. And I think that if you did it, um I think that you could do it in a way, even if you just did like I think you would have. I'm not a fan of like reshooting things beat by beat. So like animated movies that they turn into live action, like I understand that it's a no win situation. If you take liberties and change it, people are going to bitch and complain. If you keep it the same, people are like, why did you even make it? Um, but I just think that there's a large, vast majority of people who don't know what Final Fantasy X is who would go see that movie. Like, Millie, Dadman knows this, but I just went to Magic Con in May, and we drove from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas to go to it. And
Nice.
during that time, I had my sister in law in the truck with me, and I had 17 hours of uninterrupted time, one way there, one way back, to try to convince her to give Final Fantasy a shot because she didn't know anything about the games, didn't know anything about anything, right? Um, and so she won't ever play a Final Fantasy game because she doesn't have the time to invest in playing one. She would 1000% go see a Final Fantasy movie, and I think that's how you broaden to try to get more people in, right?
at
I think
that.
there's also other avenues, television shows. Millie, you had mentioned that you had tossed around the idea of writing up a television series for Final Fantasy. Walk us through, like, what do you think that would look like for Final Fantasy for Square? Like, is there any properties that you think translate well to television series?
Oh gosh, you just awakened so many ideas for my brain. So I'm gonna try to steer away from like Final Fantasy VII because I don't sound like too much of a nut job. I've played the other games. I'm on 15 right now. It's 15. I'm having honestly, I'm addicted to the side quest. But once again, before I go too far off, I could like I originally came up like was thinking of like the idea of a TV show for like the city of Midgard, like I was saying, but now like since I've already worked on that idea, like a TV show just like something Game of Thrones fantasy-esque, like set in like a world similar to like with the like production design of a Game of Thrones or a Lord of Rings style with all of the different areas and focusing on the four different storylines of like the fighter, the mage, the thief, and the oh darn it. I'm blanking out. And the member number four, like the four party system and like following their independent storylines and like how they all come together like a first specific quest, and it'd be like it could be something as cool as dragons, and it could be something as cool as like ancient beasts. Like I would actually like really like to see something that's like loosely based on like the like an adaptation of the original game like that, and
Hmm.
backstories of like all of the party characters. Like I think that would be yeah, I think that would be something really cool for the fans, but also like in like the world of series that we're in right now and people really into like the mystical stuff. Like I think people would give it a go just being familiar with Final Fantasy, and they could do a really good job, like especially with the original storyline. It could be so open-ended.
I agree with that. Dadman, how about you?
That's you, so interesting because I was gonna say something completely different, and then you said what you said, and now I kind of want to change mine. But no, I mean that what you said was really fascinating. Like following the story of like the job system, but like making it like this story related. It would be super interesting. But you said you're playing Final Fantasy 15. I actually think if I were to make a show, I think Final Fantasy 15 would be the game that translates best to that long media structure. Final Fantasy 15, as far as the game is concerned, wasn't received very well. There's a lot of that game was like in developmental hell for the longest time, and there's like so many different stories and this, that, and the third, and the gameplay is questionable. But the story, like the narrative of that game, I really, really enjoyed. And it's a story of like four bros like broing it out, right? And then like growing up and like all these things, and kind of like the Noctis, right? Like he is inheriting this kingdom that he doesn't want. Like he's like the reluctant king. Like it sounds like a good story that would play out good like on a episodic structure. And then you could do like they did in the games. They had episodic DLC where they did backstories for each individual side character or like party member, and they kind of fleshed out the story that way. But unfortunately, as far as the games were concerned, it wasn't included with the original cut of the game. That came later on, which is just an issue with DLC as a whole. But after I think a year or two of 15 being out, they came out with the Royal Edition, which is a complete collection of all the side stories and everything like that kind of put together. So if you haven't played 15, I hope you enjoy it if you're playing it. But Drew, you definitely have to play 15 because the story is really good. I would do a 15 show. I think you could get probably 2 seasons out of it. Um, Season one, I'd end in a cliffhanger. I don't want to give too much away because you're playing with it. You're playing it now, but I would end season one on a cliffhanger and then come back season two and like finish the story out. I think it would be a really good television show if it was handled properly.
See, I think that's the one that they would do. I think to your point, I think that translates well into a television. Like you imagine, like a Netflix or HBO Max or something, like being
Yeah.
able to kind of put this together. I think it would translate really well. That's not the one I want, though, right? I think that's the one they do. It's not the one I want. The one I want And like more than any movie, more than anything else, like I want to see a Final Fantasy VIII television series.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I think Final Fantasy VIII, um, when you're looking at first of all, when you're looking at like the young adult trope of television series, I think it hits those marks. But also, um, I think with the military academy with Seed, I think it it does well to set up an episodic series where like you could expand the lore of Final Fantasy VIII and have like certain missions be certain episodes of that series as you're going through like an 8 episode season. And I think that you could stretch it out to be 4 seasons. There's 4 discs with the game, and I think structurally, is you're gonna have to add to it because I think once you start getting like, especially I know Millie that you said you haven't played Final Fantasy VIII yet, right?
No, not yet. I know of it, like, and I know like the
Okay,
basic storyline, but not.
so
Great game.
without giving any like major spoilers with it or anything like that, right? Aerith dies in it. Um, uh, no,
Terrible.
without giving any spoilers. Disc two, in my opinion, from what I can remember, it's been a while since I played. That's the part where like it really stretches us out and it feels like a long game. Like it's only part of the game. Everything past that, everything before that, really well timed. That portion of it just feels really stretched out. And so I think you're gonna have to figure out how to add some of that stuff there. But at the end of the day, I think the romance between Squall and Renoa gives you the love, storyline of it. I think characters like Zill, give you like that kind of like, I don't know, typical jock slash like like he's the kind of guy that you could have a really cool story arc with, right? That could start out in one way, and then by the time you get to the end of season 4, could be like, wow, he has a very awesome story development, story arc or whatever. But then I also think Squall, I think Squall is one of the most underappreciated Final Fantasy protagonists, in all of Final Fantasy. I think it could set up really well with Squall. Um, but again, I think that they probably, I think Square Enix is probably going to stay far away from Final Fantasy VIII because of how mixed reviews are with it. But with that being said, a little bit off topic. I was going through the PlayStation Network the other day. I was just kind of looking at what was on there for Final Fantasy based stuff. It's still $20 to buy that fucking game. Um, like it for a game that like a lot of people haven't played or had mixed reviews or you'd like to revisit. Like that game's got to be $7.99 on the PlayStation Network. I don't know what it's doing at $19.99 on the PlayStation Network. I know that's a small little bit and complaint, but that's just my 2 cents about that. So, audio dramas, Millie. I don't want to assume one way or the other. I feel like you're a podcast listener, though. Are you a podcast listener?
Sometimes I'm definitely not
Sometimes,
huge, but I've got like a couple that I'm addicted to.
like
And now
Materia Junction. I get it.
Materia
Batmandrew
Junction is
podcast.
my number one. I've listened to every episode.
So nice.
I don't blame. Well, I mean, we only have 2 episodes out. This
I
is the third one, so it's you're not too far deep in. But I when it comes to like audio dramas and stuff, like I don't read very much, so I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. I like audio dramas, things like that. Um, have you ever played Final Fantasy One, the original?
Yeah. Oh my.
That
Sorry. I love to talk about Final Fantasy 1 because it is I've never beaten it because it's so hard. It is like
it
one of
really
the most
is.
difficult games
It's
I've
so hard.
ever played in my life.
It is ridiculous. I don't know how. There's no way if I was 9 or 10 years old in 1998 or 1987. Excuse me, I don't know where I got 1987. There's no way I could have finished that game. I wouldn't have had the patience. I don't know. Maybe games really are easier now than what they were back then, but
They
that game is
definitely are.
way harder than it had to be. Um, this is the area I think that could really benefit from something like this because there's a lot of good lore with Final Fantasy with the original Final Fantasy game, but there's not a lot of character development. Like this is an opportunity for you to do something different and unique, and no one would know otherwise. And I think in a world where we can just turn it on and listen to it while we're doing other tasks. Like I had audio drama on when I was cooking dinner tonight. Like it's a way to be able to consume the content. Um, and I don't think people are going to be as harsh of it not being true to like what they already know. So that's my go-to here. That's the one I think they should do. The one I think they will do, again, if we're taking Final Fantasy VII off the board, I could see them doing some kind of audio drama prequel. I don't know if prequel is the right word, but kind of like that gap in Final Fantasy 16 between when we last see Clive as a young adult to when we see him as a grown man. I could see them trying to tell stories in between there, or potentially telling stories about Jill, for the gap that we got with Jill. So, but I do think Final Fantasy One would be a great way for them to go. So, Dad, man, what about you?
Um, so I think your answer is the correct answer because I think audio drama Final Fantasy One like would tick all the boxes. When I was a kid, I didn't really like reading either, but I consumed a lot of like basically the entire Lord of the Rings franchise I did on audiobook. So I did The Hobbit and then I did all three Lord of the Rings books on audio, and it was fantastic. And I love Lord of the Rings, but it was just such an intimidating task to read all those books. Honestly though, like if I were to do one, I would do Final Fantasy 13. And here's why I would do Final Fantasy 13. I think Final Fantasy 13 collectively is probably the least favorite amongst Final Fantasy games, because of the linearity of it, whatever the case is, right? But I think a lot of the issue with Final Fantasy 13 is the gameplay structure. I don't think the combat is all that great. I think it's okay. But I also think the linearity of it really shuts people off. So if I were just to take all of the gameplay aspects out of it and just be able to listen and follow along with the story, I think I would appreciate the game a lot more. So if I'm taking all of the visual stuff out of it and I'm just listening to the story, I think Final Fantasy 13 does have a good story, but I think a lot of the fluff takes away from it. So if you strip it down to the core, I think that would be more well received than it was. That's what I would do.
Millie, how about you? What do you think about this one?
Audio dramas. Honestly, really like your idea of like, like it was just kind of like, how I felt about like diving into like, the storylines and like the character development of like the characters and the players in one. Um, I think that that would be really cool to do as an audio drama. I could really see like something like an audio, like a Final Fantasy podcast, like because there's so much to talk about, and I think you guys are proving that. So I could really see something like this getting like more and more attention. Ah, God, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm trying to think of like the games that I've played through, and I'm not really sure which one. Like, I know 12 wouldn't work as an audio drama. 12 has been so far my least favorite of any of the games that I've played. But
Yeah.
yeah. I think like hearing like something that, like of like falls into the world. Yeah, I think like yeah, it's like I was talking about some of the literary books that have come out around seven. I think if they like chose like some of the spaces within the world and really delved more into the life, like in 15, like going into like some of the towns and like the regulars that we're talking to day and like having like separate side stories that like we're listening to them, and like they refer to like Noctis and the main group and the playable characters, but it kind of like delves into its own world. I think that that would be something really cool, but I don't know if that's something Square Enix would particularly want to do because, like you said, like they need to do the things that would make them money.
I think an honorable mention, for one that they could do that I think would really be well received by the audience would be an audio drama based off Braska's pilgrimage. So like a prequel to
Oh,
Final Fantasy X. So have you played Final Fantasy X,
Yeah,
Millie?
yeah,
So like
that was
walking
a
through
great
like
one.
with Jet and Braska and Orin, I think that would be a really cool one to do. All right, then the last one here, guys. This is the one that I'm kind of most excited to talk about. It's like a theme park immersive pop up experience. I I don't want to speak for the group, but obviously we're taking Final Fantasy VII out. But the only real answer to this is to build a golden saucer, right? Like that's you have to have that.
Oh, that's such a cop out. That's
It's
such a
it's
you broke
it's
your
not,
own
but
rule.
no,
You
I'm just saying
literally
no.
broke your own rule.
I have answers for this. I'm just saying
Oh,
like if we
okay.
were including Final Fantasy VII, it is to have a golden saucer, right? Um, Second to that though, I think this is an easy one to answer. It's just a matter of which one you're going to go with. It's to have an airship, like to have a physical airship that would fly in the air. And I know we're talking about stuff that's never going to happen here, right? This is super fantasy. This is Andrew's like fucking, happy places, happiest place on earth type stuff. But could you imagine a flight experience that went a 3 hour flight experience from LA to Dallas and back, and you had the opportunity to be able um, to fly on a mock airship, and everything inside of it was either the airship from Final Fantasy X, which I think would probably be the coolest, most immersive one, because with today, like just coming back from Vegas, seeing the Las Vegas sphere and what you can do with like LED screens and stuff like that, you could walk out into a platform of a illusion that you're outside on that airship with the fucking like serpent dragon thing flying around you and stuff like that. I think that there's a lot of things you could do with an airship style immersive experience. And that's like the one universal, right? Like that's in almost every Final Fantasy game is some form of an airship. And of course the pilot, I don't care what their real name is, but it has to be Sid on
Yeah.
on this airship, right?
Mhm.
So that's my go-to. Will do, like what do I think the kind of things that Final Fan or that Square Enix will do, if you're not talking about Final Fantasy 7, I could see them doing a theatrical play from Final Fantasy 9, like
Mhm.
that the play that's introduced at the beginning into that game. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
But I think if they really wanted to go all out, would make probably no money. I don't. I can't imagine it would have the kind of support to make this financially feasible. But I think an airship would be super fucking cool. So, Millie, where are you at? Airship? Are you flying? Are you coming from LA
Oh
out
my
to
god.
Dallas on an airship?
Count me, I would literally, please count me in on that airship. I will stow away. I don't even care. That would be so much fun. Like, especially if it were like, yeah, like an airship like experience. I don't know. I would love that. I had a few thoughts. Okay, my first thought was like a Moogle market. Obviously a Moogle
Oh
market.
yeah, that'd be
Like
so
go
Nice.
dope.
like just buy like really cute items, like different like sweet potions would just be like or like original drinks and like have them. I think that would be adorable, especially if you like I had like costumed characters I hate to say like smaller people, but you never know, like, or maybe it's like robot animatronics. I don't know how exactly it would work out realistically, but I would love to see something like that, just like in a little
That would be
item
really
shop.
cool.
I also had the immediate thought, there's always like these really great like horror houses and like experiences that are based on movies. How sick, like, I'm sorry, like going back to Seven, but how sick would it be to like have like a horrific immersive experience, like a basically haunted house or haunted walkthrough of like Hojo's lab and like one of like the
Mm.
Nibelheim reactor, with
Hmm.
all of the monsters and everything about to jump out at you. And God bless, it would be really sick to have like this
Ne-
fantastic
Nibelheim
note at
experience where
the
it's
end of
like,
it.
come to Nibelheim. Sephiroth will light your whole family on fire. Like it'll be great. Like
Oh my
like a
gosh.
great experience.
Literally. Yes, like literally. So you go
Uh,
through, Genova's
like a
at the
haunted
end.
house.
Genova starts chasing you. You have to run out of the reactor. You run out of the reactor and everything's on fire and Sephiroth is waiting for you. I
Oh,
would
that's great.
That would be wonderful. I would do that.
But remember, Millie, he's not a villain, right, Dad Man? Like Sephiroth's not a
Nope.
villain, so you can't have
He's
that.
not.
This is obviously inside jokes. Millie's like, what the hell are you guys talking
I
about? But
totally get
He's
no.
not a
um,
villain.
I feel like everybody has this argument. I love it, like between you guys. I got the gist of it. Hey, Final Fantasy VII is full of complicated villains. One that I really highlight in the fan film is Rufus. I love Rufus's
yeah,
character. I do. I love his whole arc in Advent Children. But yeah, complicated villain. And he's definitely the complicated villain in my story. But so it's like I'm more of like Genova was a way more like powerful villain than Sephiroth. I'm sorry, I do have like Sephiroth is terrifying, and like with a potential that he could have gotten to if Cloud didn't keep getting in the way would have been like
Mhm.
extraordinary. Like as we saw like just the limit, like the smaller limits of what he achieved. Genova's the really terrifying one. Like that's the real villain. Knocked out the whole ancient civilization. Like yeah.
Such a good story. Dad man, what about you? What are you thinking? What immersive experience would open up your pocketbook?
Um, I would really enjoy a Renaissance fair in the style of Final Fantasy IX, like when they're in
Mm.
Lindblum in the beginning of the game. That would be really cool. Like, those little markets and shops, kind of like what Millie said, but also like the play, like you said. But I would love to see somebody like walking around dressed up as Vivi, like a little kid dressed up as Vivi, just kind of walking around. I think that would be really cool. That's I think would be easy for them to do because I feel like that fits that vibe. What I would love for them to do, like I would love to like go see like a garden. Like if they made like an actual garden, like Balam Garden or Galbadia Garden, like a school type, like a college. I don't know, like Penn State goes ape shit and they're like, we're gonna convert Penn State into Balam Garden for like a month or something. That would be super cool. Just because I love the idea of like the gardens in Final Fantasy VIII being like the school for the kids, but also like at a moment's notice it converts into like this airship just to like carry them to safety. That would be super cool. I don't know, man. The ingenuity behind the gardens in Final Fantasy VIII has always fascinated me. So I would love to see like an actual garden that you could go like tour and then, oh hey, we're gonna go take off now, and then just fly around in the air like in a huge school. That would be so dope.
You'd have to make sure that at all times though that you're playing like the Balam Garden music,
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course.
softly in the
Like
background, man, because that
a
is some of
one to
the
one. Yeah,
that is some of the like I don't know like I put that on just when I need to like calm my own spirit. Like it's such a
yeah.
soothing piece of music. So listen, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what you guys think, right? Like if you're out there, you're listening to this, how would you love to be able to see Final Fantasy go transmedia, movies, television shows, pop up immersive events? Put it in the comments below. The only rule: stay away from as much Final Fantasy VII as you can. Give us some diversity here on what we're looking at. I'd love to be able to kind of hear your thoughts, and we can keep the conversation going in the comments below. So, last plug again, if you haven't heard us mention it already, www.avalanchefanfilm.com. Please go support Millie and what they're doing. It's going to be super awesome. It's going to be very unique, and everything I've seen for it so far has looked just absolutely incredible. So, Millie, thank you again for being on Materia Junction. You're our first ever party member. Like this is awesome, right? So, do you have a certain job select? Are you like um what would it be if we gave you one?
I'd be healer. I can't, like I said,
Be a white
Air's
mage?
my girl. I would end up being the mage, the healer. I've always been a big magic user, even seeing what it does to my stats. So yeah, that would definitely be my role. Part of me wants to say thief as well, but no, I'd be the mage of the group. But it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Like you guys are great. I haven't gotten the chance to nerd out on Final Fantasy since the Seventh Heaven pop up. Like finally ended here in Los Angeles. They do have like a Square Enix cafe that I need to go to. I will definitely be posting a video from there sometime. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me rant about the fan film. I'm really excited. Like, yeah, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms, YouTube. Millie Makes Movies. Our production company is Big Dog Little Dog Films. So if you see that attached, that's us too. But it's gonna be great. I think like the big thing is like, there's gonna be a lot of like people that are behind this. There's a lot of people that are ragging on it, but the thing like that I've been really wanting to highlight is like there's like millions of Final Fantasy fans of different ages of across the world, different countries, different age gaps, different all walks of life, and like we all are really passionate enough to spend like hundreds of dollars on the remake of one game and be constantly paying attention. So if there are 50,000 out there that want to throw a dollar our way, then we've got a feature film, you guys. I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah, absolutely. And a film that, you know, with your donation, like you're going to you know have an investment in, right? And you're going to see that come to life because you were willing to be able to donate and give a little bit, right? So definitely go support, go check it out.